Moments ago, we got it. Apple above 467.77, making it a $2 trillion market cap.
Talk about money. Apple became the first U.S. company to be worth $2 trillion. Can you believe that?
I mean, it really is history when an American company goes to a $2 trillion valuation.
Apple, arguably one of the biggest companies in the world. We all know of their humble beginnings in Steve Jobs' garage. But how did they get from that to that? Well, this is their story. Steve Jobs and Steve Wozniak set up shop in Jobs' family garage in 1976. They wanted to change the way people viewed computers, which were as big as a room back then. Wozniak engineered the first Apple computer, the Apple I.
Steve Jobs came into town. He'd pop into town, see what I was up to, the latest thing I designed for fun, and then he'd somehow turn them into some money for both of us.
The Apple I was designed as something that you would put together on your own. It gained some traction, but it was Wozniak's Apple II that took off. It came with a plastic casing and a keyboard, but it was the VisiCalc spreadsheet app that made it a must-have for businesses and business users. Post-1980, Apple released the Apple III and the Lisa. Both of them failed terribly. Apple III due to a horrible heating issue, and Lisa for its pricing. Most people thought that was the end of Apple. Then, in 1984, Steve Jobs introduced the iconic Macintosh. It featured a keyboard, a monitor, a mouse, and the first graphic user interface. It famously received the minute-long applause when Steve announced it.
And that's what Macintosh is all about.
This redefined how computers were used and laid a foundation on which GUIs are designed till date. In 1983, Steve pitched to the then Pepsi CEO John Sculley to be Apple's next CEO.
Steve, in those days, he had long black hair and very piercing palmetto berry eyes. He looked down at his running shoes, and then he looked up at me, and he said, "Do you want to sell sugar water for the rest of your life, or do you want to come with me and change the world?" And it was like someone just knocked the wind out of my stomach. A few weeks later, I was working at Apple.
Later, Wozniak moved on from Apple to start his own home production company, and Jobs was put into the chairman role, while he preferred a more hands-on approach. Jobs left Apple in 1985 and started another computer company, Next. Apple continued to grow under Sculley, who took Apple's annual revenue from $556 million to a whopping $8.3 billion. After over a decade and 3 CEOs later, Apple purchased Next Computers for $400 million, and Steve returned to Apple as an advisor and eventually became the CEO. Steve went on to create the legacy of Apple that we know today, starting with the iMac in 1998.
We are delivering today the iPad, the new iMac, the iPod, iPhoto, MacBook Air, iTunes.
Then came 2007, the year when Apple transformed the whole world with a revolutionary new product.
3 things: a widescreen iPod with touch controls, a revolutionary mobile phone, and a breakthrough internet communications device. An iPod, a phone, and an internet communicator. An iPod, a phone. Are you getting it? These are not 3 separate devices. This is one device. And we are calling it iPhone.
The iPhone has changed the way the world consumes online content and will go on to become one of the greatest smartphones of all time. Steve Jobs suffered from pancreatic cancer and eventually passed away in 2011. Apple was then taken over by Tim Cook, and although there were speculations about Tim's leadership in the beginning, he proved his worth by taking the value of the company upward of $1 trillion in 2018 and then over $2 trillion by 2020. With constant innovation and development, Apple now has a wide range of products. Apple's pursuit for perfection and thirst for innovation has been their defining traits for success.